The following video has improper audio mixing simply because we didn't know that we were being drowned out by the game in stream. There is no way for me to fix this in post, but this will be rectified eventually. When you stop seeing this disclaimer, the issue will be fixed. I apologize for the inconvenience.
Kyoko's the only one without an alibi. Which you mean that Mukuro's killer is? I refuse to believe it. Kyoko murdered someone? That's...
I'd just like to say one thing. If you vote for me, and I die here, the mystery of this school will stay hidden forever. Which is why I can't let that happen.
Huh?
So are you saying you're not the culprit?
Of course I'm not. I have no reason to kill anyone. This is a trap the mastermind has laid for us.
A trap? We're this far into the game and now you decide to blame me?
Yeah, because fuck you.
Stop wasting time! Stop wasting energy! You really think your little trick is gonna work?
Shut up, you!
You got it, boss! Shutting up now!
Anyway, Kyoko, you actually did have a reason to kill her.
Does she now?
Huh? She did?
She thought Mukuro was the ultimate despair. In other words, the mastermind behind everything. So she killed her to try and put a stop to all this. Isn't that right, Kyoko? But you made one catastrophic mistake. Mukuro wasn't the mastermind at all. And as a result, we were forced into another trial, something I'm sure you weren't at all expecting.
So, that was her motive?
If she had a motive and no alibi, well then, I think it's pretty clear Kyoko's gotta be the culprit.
I'm not the only one without an alibi. Makoto's explanation is still insufficient.
Is it now?
Huh?
The sprinklers didn't get the body wet, but that doesn't mean the murder happened when he said it did.
What are you...
Because you see, there is a way the body could have avoided getting wet.
Interesting. I'm listening.
All it would take is covering the body with a certain something to keep it from getting wet.
Then something at the scene was used to cover up the body.
I got it! You're talking about the tarp, aren't you?
You catch on quick. You're right. All you'd have to do is cover the body with the tarp, and that'd take care of the water. In fact, that's exactly what the killer did. The dirt pattern on the tarp can attest to that. Only one side of the tarp got dirty, because that's the side that got covered in water.
I don't think that's how that would work. Because if a tarp got wet, then there shouldn't be dirt. Unless, like, you just threw it off on the side to, you know...
There's also splatter. Dirt splatter. Depending on the intensity of the sprinklers, you can actually force some dirt to fly up. That's why you have to be very careful with watering plants. That's why it's better to water plants with a watering can, not a hose.
The side that faced down over the body, meanwhile, kept perfectly clean.
But... No. I was saying, wouldn't there at least be a little bit blood on it if it was on the body?
Depends.
This proves that the killer used the tarp to keep the body from getting soaked.
But why would they go to all that effort just to keep the body from getting wet?
Most likely so they could cloud the issue of when the murder actually took place. In other words, to create an excuse exactly like the one Makoto just gave us.
Why would Kyoko say that? Why would you want to make me look like the killer? I can't think about that right now. The tarp. They always use the way Kyoko said. The tarp must have touched the body, right? The body.
Wait. Something's not right.
And what might that be?
I can't worry about Kyoko's motivations. If I don't do something, everyone's gonna think I'm the killer. And why are you looking at me like that?
I want to see what choice you made.
I have to refute what Kyoko said.
By covering the body with the tarp, The killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side is because the sprinkler got that side wet.
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless, right?
It's because that side was protected from the water. Since it was facing down toward the body, of course it didn't get dirty. Of course it didn't get dirty.
No, that's wrong. Actually, one side being clean is pretty strange if you think about it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because the blood wasn't dry before the body got blown up, right?
So where's blood?
Byakuya said it himself. Not to touch it, or you might get some on you. If you put a tarp on a body in that state, it absolutely would have gotten blood on it.
Well, maybe the culprit washed it, so nobody would know they'd used it.
If they had, they would have washed both sides. Just washing the one side wouldn't hide anything.
Oh, yeah, true.
More than that, what if the very blood we saw on the body was meant as a kind of camouflage?
The blood was camouflage?
What if, after the killer used the tarp to avoid the sprinklers, they then covered the body in blood that didn't belong to the victim?
You mean someone else's blood? Where would they get something like that?
I wonder where.
I know! They could have grabbed some of the blood packs from the nurse's office.
That's a fine idea.
That's what Hifumi did, right? When he pretended to be dead?
No, that's not what happened this time. The killer got the blood from right there in the garden.
I got the blood right there in the garden, which must mean... Explain
I
what
got
it!
it! Could it have been chicken blood?
What? Chicken blood?
When I checked the chicken coop before the murder, there were 5 chickens. But after the murder, there were only 4.
So, you're saying someone killed a chicken and then covered the body with its blood?
Yep.
Man, that's messed up.
I mean,
Killing a living thing just to do
die anyway.
something like that is awful. They should have at least eaten it.
what if they did? Fried chicken for dinner, boys!
I wonder if the killer had to get the blood from the scene so they wouldn't be spotted walking around. Anyway, there's no denying that a chicken went missing, which provides a basis for my theory.
Perhaps, but even so, there's one thing that still doesn't make sense. You said the culprit used the tarp to avoid the water and then covered the body in blood, right? But if that's the case, then the blood should have soaked into the ground around the body. But that's not what we saw. Only the victim's clothing had blood on it. The ground was completely clean.
I have to agree, that certainly is strange. Maybe they didn't apply the blood at the scene. Maybe they covered the coat in blood beforehand.
They covered it beforehand?
When you discovered the body, was it wearing the coat like you normally would?
I think so. Wait, no. The head was through the neck hole, but the arms weren't in the sleeves.
Not to mention the coat's backwards.
Then that settles it.
Sorry, I'm having a tough time keeping up. What settles what?
Here's what happened. The murder took place before the sprinklers went off. But the body didn't get wet because the killer covered it with the tarp.
Hey, we're Rainbow.
Then, later, at the same time the killer was gathering up the tarp, they pulled the coat over the body, the coat they'd already covered in blood. This series of cover-ups was meant to disguise the actual time the murder occurred. They wanted us to think the murder happened sometime after the sprinklers had gone off, at 7:30.
If that's actually what took place, it certainly becomes possible that the murder happened earlier.
But to pull all that off, wouldn't they have had to go back to the garden after the sprinklers turned off?
That actually wouldn't have been all that difficult.
Huh?
They already had the coat ready, so they just had to grab the tarp and pull the coat over the body. They'd be done in no time.
Maybe, but still.
Hina, after you met up with Makoto in the dining hall, did you two stay together from that point on?
Oh no. I headed off to the gym, and Makoto didn't show up till later.
Then he had plenty of time to spare, wouldn't you say?
That's not...
Don't bother saying it's not possible.
I must admit, Kyoko's reasoning is sound. Makoto's alibi is inadequate.
Why the fuck are you blaming this on me? Why is Kyoko trying to entrap me? I don't understand. Okay, sure.
Well then, it looks like we're back to square one. Makoto's alibi is no good, so once again, our suspects are him and Kyoko.
For serious, man? Which one of them did it? Hey, why don't we let luck decide? Let's flip a coin. 50-50 odds.
Alright, Two-Face.
Oh!
See? Pretty good idea, right?
No.
No, not that. I just remembered something super serious.
Well, don't just stand there. Out with it.
You know that knife we found all black and burnt?
The one we found stuck in the body before it exploded, right? According to the Monokuma file, the knife went all the way through, from front to back.
I don't know, because it still looks like there's a good chunk of it still sticking out.
So, what about it?
I'm pretty sure I'd seen that knife somewhere before.
Oh, no.
That's what I thought when I first saw it. I just remembered.
No, because these flashbacks are annoying.
It's the knife we gave to Makoto?
You don't seem surprised. You must have noticed earlier.
Yeah,
Then why did you hide that fact?
it's not that I hid it. It's just...
I couldn't be sure of what actually happened last night. I thought maybe I really did kill her.
Suspicious! Very suspicious indeed.
Shut up, hero.
The knife we found stuck in the body came from Makoto.
Which y'all gave to me.
Now I'm totally convinced he did it. 12,000% convinced.
Considering everything up to now, I should be able to make it clear. I have to prove that I didn't murder anyone. I'm not the killer. I'm the fucking protagonist. Of course I'm not the goddamn killer. We would have seen it happen.
The knife we found lodged in the dead body.
It's the same one we gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it? I was afraid of that.
If he did have that knife before, then that seals it. Makoto did it.
Just because I had the knife once? That automatically makes me the killer?
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her, right? So there's no question. You took that knife of yours and killed her with it.
What a horrible man you are, Makoto.
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her.
No, that's wrong! Wait, hold on. The stab wound isn't what killed Mukuro.
Dragon Weaver, we have already established Makoto doesn't have a brain.
That should be clear from the description of the cover-up we just heard.
Lies! We never talked about what killed her.
No, don't you remember? The killer covered the dead body with the tarp and then put the bloody coat on it, right? In other words, the victim never wore that blood-stained coat until after they were dead.
Okay, fine. So what?
So, when we discovered the body, the knife had been thrust through the coat along with the body. Meaning, if she wasn't stabbed until the coat was put on, and she was already dead at that point, obviously the stab wound isn't what killed her.
Maybe you stabbed her twice. Once to kill her and once to cover it up.
The victim was stabbed twice in the same spot? No. There's no way that's possible. The exact condition of the body was written for everyone to see.
I got it! The Monokuma file clearly states that there was only one stab wound.
Oh yeah, it sure did. I totally forgot about that.
Of course you did.
Then the knife.
Was just another piece of camouflage set up by the true killer.
Million things with 1,000 bits.
They probably stabbed her to draw attention away from what actually killed her.
Dun, dun, dun.
Exploding the body afterward was probably meant to do the same thing.
Which somehow Toko survived.
I mean, Toko survived getting slipping and falling.
The explosion severely damaged the body,
in the bathtub, so.
making it impossible to know
Do you
what
know how
really
high
killed
she
her.
jumped in that bathhouse? I'll re-show you the image later.
It was all the killer's attempt to destroy all evidence of their crime.
So they wanted us to notice the stab wound and then detonated the body afterward. They meant for us to latch onto the knife as the cause of death, then destroy any evidence proving otherwise.
Oh, hey, I have a question. It kind of goes back to the beginning, but what's the deal with that explosion anyway? Why'd the body just blow up all of a sudden like that?
If you bothered to put that lump of gray matter between your ears to use, you'd know the answer.
Well, if you're so smart, just tell me.
I'll tell you. I bet some unknown quantum
I might be dumb, but even I'm not dumb enough to believe that.
Go ahead, Makoto. Tell her or we won't make any headway on this.
There's only one explanation I can think of for the explosion.
I got it! After the explosion, we found a tiny fragment of something on the ground near the body, right? That fragment reveals the cause of the explosion.
Huh? You know, I feel like I've seen something like it somewhere before.
They have.
That's only natural, because of course, we saw the same thing when we dismantled Monokuma. It's part of a bomb.
Oh! Then the explosion was because of the Monokuma bomb.
Anyway, the culprit's motive is becoming more and more obvious by the minute. They wanted the knife wound to look like the fatal injury so that we'd suspect Makoto.
Yep. Y'all fell for it, you fuckers.
And the only one who would benefit from that is the only other possible suspect. You, Kyoko.
Hold on a second, Byakuya.
What's the problem?
Well, I just feel like we need to think this through. We still don't know what actually killed the victim.
That's true. It's definitely bugging me. What really killed her?
Fine. I have no problem with that. Let us continue the debate. It won't change the facts of the case regardless.
We need to determine what ultimately killed the victim. We need to concentrate.
Then, shall we continue the debate? The victim's fatal injury has yet to be determined, correct?
The explosion didn't kill her for sure. I guess.
Well, yeah. She was already totally dead when that happened.
And it wasn't because of the knife, right? And then there's only one other thing.
Oh yeah. According to the Monokuma file, that's gotta be it. There was evidence that showed she was hit on the back of her head.
And more than that, the victim had suffered countless wounds across her entire body. Shall we continue the debate?
Yes.
The victim's fatal injury has
Yet to be determined.
The explosion didn't kill.
Well,
Yeah, she was.
And it wasn't even then.
oh yeah. That's gotta be it. There was evidence that showed she was hit on the
And more than that, the victim had suffered countless wounds across her entire.
Then, shall we continue the debate? The victim's fatal injury has yet...
No, it's wrong.
Byakuya slowed down is weird.
Mukuro died because of the blow to the back of the head she suffered.
What about the wounds all over the rest of her body? They didn't have anything to do with it?
The Monokuma file makes it clear that those weren't fresh wounds.
Oh yeah, good point. If they were old, I guess they don't really matter.
Okay, then we're safe in assuming the blow to the back of her head is what killed her.
But then, what was the murder weapon?
The Monokuma file says she was hit with a blunt object, about as thick as a metal pipe.
Oh, I bet it was the pickaxe!
How is that even possible? If you hit someone with that, it'd cave their skull in completely.
Yeah, especially with what side you'd use.
How about to say it depends on the side. Because
If you use it with the side without the piercings,
Yeah.
then you probably could use it as one weapon.
Well, maybe they held it the other way and hit her with the handle.
Or you could just hit it with the blunt ends.
No way! The balance would be all off. You wouldn't be able to swing it with any kind of power. I wouldn't mind testing it on you if you want.
Please do. It would be an improvement.
let's say it looks like you'll buy and get off on it too.
No thanks. I bet you just hit me with the metal end and call it an accident.
I'd love to scoop out that nasty brain of yours, throw it on the ground, and spit on it.
Again, keep your fetish away from me.
I feel the same way. Looks like we're on the same page this time.
Wow, okay.
Seriously?
We want to figure out what killed her, right? It just so happens we already know.
We already know? I knew we could count on you, Master.
Shut up.
So what was it?
Go ahead and tell them, Makoto. Surely you've deduced the real murder weapon?
Real murder weapon. Man, there's only one thing that is not supposed to be.
I got it! Mukuro was hit in the back of the head with something, and that's what killed her. And that something was the titanium arrow we found in the locker in the dojo.
An arrow? That's what the culprit attacked Mukuro with?
Indeed. There's no doubt about it.
Are you sure? That sounds kinda weird.
Hey! How dare you backtalk, Master? You have no right!
Shut up.
I'm not back-talking anything. I'm just saying what I think.
I don't blame Hina for doubting it, because there's one more thing about that weapon. One more secret.
The titanium arrow. It was in the dojo locker, right? I have no doubt that was the murder weapon.
Are you sure?
You don't sound convinced. What's the problem?
Well, 'cause in the Monokuma file, it said the weapon must have been about as thick as a metal pipe, right? It seems like an arrow would just be too thin.
Talking back to Master! You have no right!
It seems like an arrow would just be too...
No, that's wrong! You're right. Just the one arrow would have been too weak. That's why the killer used another weapon.
The bundle.
Another weapon?
Inside the dojo locker, we also found a balled-up wad of duct tape. The killer probably used this duct tape to bind multiple arrows together.
Yeah, Bryan has control of the game. I'm literally sitting here watching. He has control of everything.
Bundling them together using the duct tape would easily create a single weapon as thick as a pipe.
Yep.
And that's exactly what the killer did.
It's similar to Aesop's fable about the bundle of sticks.
What's the bundle?
It's basically the theory of one stick will break easily, but if you bundle them together, they're as strong as a pipe.
One stick is weak, but put them together, and they become strong. It's meant to teach cooperation.
Damn, that's harsh.
How is it harsh? Are you even listening?
Anyway, that explains the murder weapon. As for who the culprit is that stashed the weapon in the dojo locker, it was you, Kyoko.
I've never been to the dojo.
Oh no, You absolutely have.
How can you say that with such confidence?
Because we have proof, of course. Don't we, Makoto? What's the matter? Surely you don't intend to protect a murderer. You know what will happen if you do, don't you? If you cover for the culprit, there's only one thing that can lead to the death of us all. Remember?
Of course I remember.
Then show us. Show everyone the evidence that proves Kyoko went to the dojo.
I have evidence? Evidence that Kyoko went to the dojo. Must be connected to the dojo locker. And what would you need to open a locker?
Your foot.
Monokuma's account. I fucking knew it.
I got it! The one thing that proves Kyoko was in the dojo is right here. The key to the dojo locker.
And how does that prove anything?
Because I found it in your room.
It was in my room?
Don't bother trying to play dumb. That key is just the final piece of the puzzle. Your non-existent alibi, your clear motive, your attempts to frame Makoto for the crime. This all proves that you are the true culprit. You can't explain this away, so just give up.
Hold on a second.
Not this again. You really are dead set on defending her, aren't you?
No, it's not that I want to defend her. It's just... There's one more thing I need to ask her. Kyoko, I want you to tell me something.
Also, I want you all to think about one thing, but let's continue.
Last night, you were in my room, weren't you? Why? What were you doing there? That's what I need to know.
I was just protecting you.
Where are you now?
What?
She was protecting me? Then does that mean she knew I was being attacked? And she came to my rescue. Could that be when? Which would mean that Kyoko, she killed someone?